Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, he is fighting back against the Department of Defense and its illegal abortion policy. And I'm telling you what, he's taken a strong stand and he's drawing a lot of critics. You know, he's using his influence as a senator to object to military nominations and promotions until the Pentagon retreats from its determination to expand abortion in the military contrary to federal law. Now, he's not stopping these nominations. They're just slowing the process down. All these things are kind of done by unanimous consent, and they'll throw a whole batch in, and everybody says, okay, we're fine with that. But when you object, it means you have to vote on each one, which grinds the Senate to a halt, which quite frankly is productive in my view. The less that comes out of Washington, the better. Well, I think we're witnessing a great example of a pro-life leader using the tools that he has available to pursue priorities of the voters who elected him. And we need to see more of this in Washington, and we need to support elected leaders who take this type of stand. So I want to encourage you. I'm going to give you a petition number to text because we've got several thousand, about 30,000 petitions of support. We're going to deliver those to him, and I want you to be able to add your name. But for now, joining us to discuss this and more is another senator that's standing with him, standing strong, Senator Mike Rounds. He serves on 5 Senate committees, including the Senate Armed Services Committee. He represents the state of South Dakota. Senator Rounds, welcome back to the program.
Tony, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to visit with you today.
Well, I want to thank you for your stand. You, like Senator Tuberville, you serve on the Armed Services Committee. And for our viewers and listeners who may not know the details, can you explain the process of how military nominations and promotions work in the Senate?
Absolutely. And look, first of all, let me just share with you, I do think this nominations process is important because this is what provides for the promotions of all of these separate officers that are members of the armed forces, and we respect them. But it is just as critical that a member of the Senate stand and say, I understand how important these nominations are, but just as important is protecting life and making sure that what you're trying to do in making abortions easier to obtain is wrong, and we've never supported that in the past. And so what happens is the Armed Services Committee will have a nominations process where literally several hundred to 1,000 or more officers who are waiting for their next promotion in rank come through the process. But in addition to that, each of the separate generals is also looked at individually. And when those generals come up for promotion, it's a matter of if you object, you can slow down the process of those individuals, the top generals, being promoted and thus being able to take in a new position that's in the order of sequence from the Secretary of Defense down through the Joint Chiefs of Staff and then through the separate branches. But what Senator Tuberville has said is, look, this is just as important to us. And if you want these nominations to proceed easily through the Senate, then you need to come and visit with us because what you're doing with regard to abortion and promoting abortion and taking people from state to state, this is wrong. We have never supported it, and we're going to stand our ground. And like I say, these promotions are important. That's the reason why this is something that we do not do lightly.
They could fix it overnight, couldn't they, Senator? Just by going back to the policy that was in place.
Absolutely. And isn't it interesting that they're criticizing Senator Tuberville when all they have to do is to go back to the way that we've always done this in the past. And we've never paid for abortions. We've never funded it. We've always done our best to eliminate that. And, and in this particular case, this administration is pro-abortion. And they are frustrated by the fact that the Supreme Court has stood strong and very clearly laid out that abortion is not protected by the Constitution. And this is their way of acting out. And they think this is an easy way to do it and that everybody's going to kowtow. I commend Senator Tuberville. I think he's made a very morally correct stand. And I just hope, as I've said to some of the press, I hope those individuals at the top end of the Department of Defense want those nominations to go through just as much as we do, and they're prepared to step in and to listen very carefully to what Senator Tuberville is asking of them.
You know, Senator Rounds, I just have a hard time believing them that this is all about military readiness and effectiveness, given the fact that we just went through a period of time where about 8,000 members of our military were pushed out because they wouldn't get a COVID shot, and recruiting is down because of a lot of the woke policy. So there's so much on their end that they could fix by just going back to the status quo of what we had before.
You are correct. And they could fix this tomorrow. And the least they could do would be to go to Senator Tuberville and say, okay, we understand it. Let's work through this. They're not responding to Senator Tuberville, and he's in the right.
Yeah.
What he is saying is you're promoting abortion, and you're doing what you should not be doing. We have never funded it. We've never allowed the Department of Defense to fund it. And now you think this is an easy way out. You're acting out because of the Supreme Court decision, and he's disagreeing with it, and he's in the right.
Well, Senator Rounds, I want to thank you for standing with him and adding your voice to that growing chorus of senators that's saying, not on our watch. So, Senator, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.